Meet Anja Allvin, a mom, a nurse, and a MasterChef star. Anja will share how the Swedish MasterChef has changed her life and all about her experience of living in Sweden for 18 years. If you're new here, my name is Elina, and this is a channel about expat life in Sweden and the famous Scandinavian lifestyle. Let's start, and don't forget to enjoy the beautiful views of Skåne, the south of Sweden. Well, don't forget to subscribe either.
Let's do it.
Now, where did you learn English, by the way?
I learned it by myself because in school in Ukraine the education of English was quite poor, so I learned a lot by myself. And then I studied Japanese in the university, so we had the English like the second language.
Okay. You studied Japanese?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it was my first education. It's like translator, interpreter of Japanese and Ukrainian. Yes.
Wow. Jesus. So if you went to Japan now, you could actually speak?
Yes, I went to Japan 2019, just before the pandemic, and I could speak to the people. It was very nice. It's like a great icebreaker.
Oh, wow. That's insane. That's just funny because I just recently interviewed another girl who lives in Sweden and she studies Japanese at the university in Lund. So that's a funny coincidence. I'm surrounded with Japanese learners. But I was actually curious, when you just first came to Sweden, what was your biggest cultural shock?
I actually didn't have any cultural shock in Sweden because everything seemed in some funny way very familiar to me. I don't know why, but it felt like coming home. So I didn't really have this cultural shock as people talk about often when moving to different countries. No, I felt in the very beginning like it's a great country for me to stay and live in.
But was there something surprising or some customs or traditions that you never saw before?
Of course, it's always. I wish I could have some diary or something where I wrote this stuff, because you forget a lot of things. It's 18 years ago since I moved to Sweden, but some food stuff, I was very surprised. People ate like köttbullar, the meatballs with sweet jam or jelly, yes. So it was very funny for me to eat like meat, salty stuff with sweet, preserved fruit. So, but now I love it. It's a great combination of taste.
Yeah, now you're a real sweet.
Yes.
In the first years of your life here, what do you think helped you to immerse yourself into the Swedish culture and to get used to the people and to become truly a local?
From the very beginning, my aim and determination was to be very good in Swedish, to be integrated in the society, to have a job and to be one of the Swedes. So I didn't have so much contact with the people from former Soviet Union or Ukraine or other, but I tried to make so many friends, Swedish friends, and I remember that I said that I couldn't speak English because it's very common in Sweden that if you are not so good in Swedish, they try to speak English to you, and I said, my English, I cannot speak English. No. So I had to speak Swedish, although it was not so good, but I had some more practice.
And then how did it happen that you decided to work as a nurse?
It was quite a late decision. It was after I had my first 2 kids. I was thinking about what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, and I had such wonderful experiences while giving birth. So my idea was to become a midwife, because I thought that it must be the most beautiful profession in the world to be in this moment with the people, for them the most important moment in family life. So the first step in Sweden to become a midwife, you have to become a nurse. So I started studying to be a nurse, and it took 3 years in the university, and then you have to work for at least 1 year as a nurse to be able to proceed with the midwife education. But actually I was just continuing working, it was convenient, and I was like, I'm a little bit lazy to go back to school, so I'm still not a midwife, but I don't know, we'll see, maybe in future.
But now you are a cook also.
Yes, and it's one more thing that immersed in my life.
It's interesting to see how cooking blended into your life, and then suddenly you became well known in Sweden as a cook. For those who haven't seen your MasterChef experience, can you explain briefly what that was and how you ended up being there, and then we can continue talking about that.
Yes, I was just watching MasterChef Sweden with my kids for a couple of years, so maybe 2 seasons, and I thought that it was a very interesting program, and it was very cool that they were like normal people, but they were so good at cooking, and I was like more and more interested in this, and I bought some cookbooks and cooked by myself and watched YouTube. My picture of the people who were participating, that they were genius, they were like out of this world, very, very good, that it's not for me, it's not my level. But then I think my husband talked to me, and he said that you are cooking great food, why not try? You love this show and you're talking about it all the time. So I sent application and I got in, and then in the end I ended as number 5, and for me it's a great result.
Om jag hade suttit hemma hos dig med din mamma, din övriga familj, ätit där, pratat om livet, druckit gott vin, då hade jag varit supernöjd.
It's not the place, it's the main thing, but I got so much experience, new friends, new contacts, and like a new life after MasterChef.
Let's take a break from the interview to cook. Anja got some ramson, or ramslök in Swedish, from the Swedish forest, and she will make the waffles from it. How? Well, first you need to fill a food processor with ramsons and blend. You can repeat it one more time. Then put the mixed ramson in a kitchen towel and squeeze out the juice. Fantastic color. Mix all the ingredients into a waffle batter, keep stirring, and then it's time to bake the waffles. Anja is using her fantastic retro waffle iron from a local secondhand store that she's got literally for 20 Swedish crowns. You can top these waffles with creme fraiche and caviar and just enjoy it. Check out the full recipe on Anja's Instagram. You'll find link in description.
What changed in your life after MasterChef, or thanks to MasterChef?
It's like a new world is open and is in front of me to conquer. And right now I'm writing a cookbook together with my friend Anastasia Lundqvist. You also know her. Who earlier wrote a wonderful book about Georgian food. So we write it together, and it's coming in August this year. And I made a lot of collaborations with some restaurants, and I'm like coming out as a cook.
Yeah.
That's great. Also, unfortunately, during the MasterChef, when it was on air, the war started, but I could use my popularity to collect money. We had a lot of charity events where we collected almost 500,000 kronas and we sent it to Ukraine. So I think without this MasterChef thing, I couldn't be able to help as I did.
Yeah. And also what you do now helps to popularize the Ukrainian cuisine, right?
Yeah, so I'm like an ambassador of Ukrainian culinary culture.
Yeah. What is that you would like people to know more about Ukrainian culture or Ukrainian food?
Actually, I would like them to know in Sweden that our kitchens, our cuisines are quite similar. We use quite similar ingredients, but we cook them in different ways. Swedish people who tried Ukrainian food, they always say that, oh, it's so easy to like, it's so likable. It's like something that we know, it's something familiar to us, but you do it with a different twist or in different ways. Also, we have so much in common historically with Ukraine and Sweden. So it's not so surprising that the cuisine is also similar to each other.
Indeed. I guess there are also quite many people who fled from Ukraine now here in the past few years or a year. For those who now maybe decide to stay in Sweden for a bit longer, what would be your tips on how to integrate themselves into the local culture and how to be more maybe useful for the Swedish society, maybe like how to search for a job?
What I experienced from all the Ukrainians that I met here in Sweden, the people are very fast at finding jobs and like connecting to people. So I think that Ukrainians have this power and drive in their blood. And actually in Sweden, people are quite, things are going on very slowly. So just when you apply for the job, maybe you have to wait for some weeks and then they reply something and then you wait for some weeks and it feels like nothing happens, and just have some, I think my advice is just to have some patience and don't expect that things are going to be so fast, but it's going to be okay.
And do you think your work as a nurse helped you to get to know the Swedish society better?
Oh yes, of course, because I meet people in so many different situations, so many different ages, and they tell me so much about their lives. And you're like, when you meet a person who is ill, sick, and you just get to know someone very closely, in a very short time, because they tell you a lot about themselves. And especially now when I work as a home nurse, I go to people that are very old and always, very often they are very lonely and they want to talk to someone. So I have so many different stories that I gathered from people. So it helps to come in the society, to understand how it was before and how it is now. So,
was there any particular story that touched you the most?
I don't really know if I can remember something like this now, but it's a lot of, especially old women who don't have kids, or that also like very regret. They are, I wish I could have children because I feel so lonely now. I have no one, and like all my friends have passed away, and things like this. That a lot of people regret, like a lot of things that they did, or that they had quarrels with the family members and things like that.
Why do you think it happens that quite many people in Sweden end up lonely, or even being young people? I know, like among people in my age, or like your age, between 30 and 35, 40, people struggle building relationships and building families. Do you have any thoughts why does that happen?
Yes, one theory is that we are not so many in Sweden, and like we have a physical distance to each other, that maybe it's like harder to to get to know people. You don't, like if you're on a bus, you always have space, so you don't have to sit next to each other so often. And also it's some like cultural thing that you don't want to impose yourself, and you are not so straightforward, and like people are shy, and to get to know someone you have to take this step, and for many people it's hard.
Do you think there is a way to change that, or how do you think people could change that potentially?
Yes, it's just to like to meet more people, to be just like sit next to someone on the bus, or even if you have free space, and just say hi.
Yeah.
It could be the first step.
Do you experience that here in Skåne people are more open comparing to maybe other regions of Sweden?
Yes, I think so, because also it's the most crowded population here in Skåne. So we got like quite close, and also it's like near to the Europe. It's like different influences. Also, Skåne was a part of Denmark for a very long time, so it's like a different culture. Also, a lot of immigrants end up here in Skåne, so it's blended, and it's more like more cultures are coming in and influence people.
For those who are thinking to come and maybe live here for a while, what would be your top 3 tips on what to get ready for?
As I said before, that they should know that it can take time. It can be about job or about a personal relationship. Like, well, it's not so easy to get friends or close friends, but if you become friend with someone, so you can be sure it's your friend. for sure. Because people are just not like inviting to visit or something, and also they like to plan in advance. So like you cannot be so spontaneous as like we are in Ukraine. You just can have guests very unexpectedly. In Sweden, they like to plan at least 2 weeks before. So it's not strange for Swedes, but maybe it could be like a little bit for a little bit formal for someone who is coming from a different culture.
Right. I was also curious, since you live outside of the city, in the on the countryside, what, in your opinion, is the best part of living in the Swedish countryside?
Swedish nature is just so fantastic. We live near a lake where we swim, and I also started to swim in winter, this winter, and it's so great. And we have a beautiful forest where I can pick mushrooms and berries, and it's just like coming to I often work in Malmö or somewhere in the city, and just coming home, it's like to come to a paradise. Every time it's just so relaxed and so peaceful here.
Are there any downsides of living far from the city?
Of course, you have to drive, you have to plan. Also, we have 3 kids, so we have to plan their activities, and we're just working like taxi drivers most of our time at home. But you get used to it. It's a lifestyle, so every lifestyle has its own side, ups and downs, yes.
Let me know in the comments what else you would like me to ask from the expats in Sweden and the Nordics. If you live in Sweden yourself and you would like to be interviewed for my channel, send me a direct message on Instagram and we'll take it from there. See you in the next video.